Hello, everybody. I guess we can get started. Our main focus right now is launching subspaces. We are Hassan can talk more about that in a minute, but the main thing is we are planning to launch Subspacer in like a week, and then after that we'll make changes to spaced for some changes to support subspaces, and we expect that'll take a couple of weeks, and then after that we'll do testing on testnet 4 for probably about 4 weeks. So I'm expecting to launch somewhere around October 1st. That's the plan right now. So yes. So on this call, Hassan can talk more about subspaces, and then Alex will talk about the work he's doing with Nostr. And then after that, Alexi can talk more about the mobile wallet we're creating for that will support subspaces.
So the work on subspaces is essentially being done in like two parts. The off-chain stuff, which is like the database that stores all the like subspaces issued for a given space, and the on-chain component, which only handles the hashes of this database. In the next week, we plan to release like Subspacer. We currently have an older version that's built on the older design. But next week we will release the new version, which so we will be able to like add subspaces to the database, compute a tree root, and eventually we'll be able to submit that tree root on chain with the space D and the wallet. And Subspacer also allows you to like make changes to this database. So like add new subspaces and compute a new tree root, and also compute like a proof to show that the changes you made to the database were correct. There are like different kinds of proofs that Subspacer could generate something very simple without any like zero knowledge stuff. So it could like show that the subspace that you issue did not previously exist in all of the previous commitments that you have made on chain. And this is basically just Merkle exclusion proofs from all the prior commitments. And this is like the simplest kind. And also it could compress all of these proofs into one small like zero knowledge proof that essentially gets bundled into a certificate that gets to be used off chain to prove your ownership of like a given subspace. So yeah, like next week you will be able to like play with subspaces a bit, and like generate those kinds of proofs, play with certificates if you're a nerd. But eventually, once we get support for the on-chain stuff and the UTXO binding in space D, then you will be able to like fully use subspaces on testnet 4. And then we will like test them for about a month. And if everything is good, then we could launch it on mainnet. So I think I'll explain for Alex a little bit because I'm not sure if anyone like heard him. So he's working on like a Nostr relay that you could like query spaces through it. And he's also working on like a Nostr integration, like a Nostr client and a nip to show how like spaces could be supported on Nostr. So that's the gist of it.
Okay. And then Alex, would you like to Oh, curious. I know you also joined. If you have any questions.
Hey, yeah, I had some questions. Yeah, that was breaking up for me too, from Alex. I could wait though for Alex to go though.
Okay. Yeah. Let's see.
I'm pretty afraid this will not get better.
Yeah. Alexi, did you want to talk about the wallet you're working on a bit?
Yeah, it should work. Okay. So I'm working on the mobile application for subspaces. It will basically hold your list of subspaces plus your certificates, let's say, and also the path to your public key for this space. So the idea is like the following. You install this application on your phone, create your private key, enter the mnemonic phrase or something like that, and then your private key is stored in the secure part of the memory in the phone, and all the other stuff like the list of subspaces, the proofs for the subspaces, the derivation path for the public key for the subspaces and stuff like that. It is stored in a not secured way. So you can backup it. You can backup it to the cloud. You can, I don't know, send it by emails, whatever. This information is totally fine to be public. And once you need to sign, like sign the Nostr event or something else, whatever, you have to get this private key from your memory. So you have to do the certification with a fingerprint, with the iFace, with the PIN code on phone, whatever. And then you have this private key, you have the derivation path for this subspace. So you have the the private key for this subspace. You sign, and then it flushed from the memory, so it's again safe. So that's the whole idea. We can split the private key, have only one private key, just like you have for normal wallets, for like normal Bitcoin wallets. And subspace information is stored in normal public storage, and it's safe. So I think it's very nice way to do this.
Okay, thanks. So yeah, that will be our wallet that will support subspaces. So yeah, we're planning to launch this hopefully by end of September or early October. Anybody have questions or comments?
Sure. Can I ask you about the Nostr integration? Is the key pair associated with a particular main level space or subspace going to be what represents the identity in Nostr directly, or is there kind of a level of indirection through a zone file mapping that could be looked up through spaces? So as a problem, because if it's the first, then it's like, okay, unless I can determine my own private key in the spaces world, I can't control what my identity is in the Nostr world. If I've already built up an identity there and have a reputation that's already built out, but when I then associate a subspace name to it in an existing profile, then some mapping will have to occur at some level.
Yeah, so yes, we agree with this. So the idea right now is to have something like similar to nip5, where like you could add like a key similar like so if you use like event kind 0 in Nostr, like
Right. You can add whatever attribute you want.
Yeah. So let's say we have an attribute called like space, and you could like type in that like the space name and you sign it with your npub.
Right.
Yeah, and through like for Nostr relays that support querying Fabric, there would be like another event where you could query like, let's say Andrew at Bitcoin. Yeah, and you could get like records that says like Andrew uses this npub on Nostr. Yeah, so this way you have like a two-way mapping. The Andrew at Bitcoin signs the npub, and the npub signs the space through the kind 0 event.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah. Cool. So the other thing, was it mentioned what client he's kind of basing his exploration on?
I believe it's Iris, right, Alex?
Yeah, it's Iris.
Iris.
I don't know if you can hear me, but yeah, it's Iris.
Okay.
Yeah, but we'd love to like hear your thoughts. I think he will share a nip that he's working on. So yeah, like you could work with him if you like on if you have like any opinions and stuff.
Well, I think I mean, I'm sure Curious would chime in onto this as well, but it's like getting some like use case or scenario where spaces resolution is either built in and easy to explore with, or is a pretty easy ask to get someone to modify their setup such that it becomes available, seems to be a challenge, right? Okay, great. Maybe you make a custom version of Iris and a custom relay. That's fine, but then you have to then tell people, okay, well, add this particular relay to your list of relays or try it with Iris. And I'm trying to think of ways to make like a more simple case. Like, here's a website that is completely your property, protected by a subspace name. If you put it in the browser window, you get this website. Now, if that requires a special version of a browser, then maybe that's an introductory step. But in my mind, if we're going to get broad adoption, we need like this spaces name resolution to occur in many places, in many clients, in many scenarios, and which kind of means you got to latch into the DNS sort of resolution mechanism more at the sort of core of a machine, as opposed to handling it in just like particular clients sort of scenarios. I'm not sure that in itself is maybe too much of a lift for a common user. Maybe there's like, hey, if you're interested in subspaces and how they work, then download these few things and try them out kind of in a little sandbox sort of scenario. And if you like what you see, then, think about getting your own subspace names or something along that line. I know you guys have had experience with Impervious browser and doing that in the past, and getting yet another browser, for people to install something is probably its own challenge. But anyway, just thoughts along that way. And then the other thing is that it sounds like you're going to be pretty ready for prime time by October 12th, is it? Yeah.
October 13th.
13th, yeah. 13th through 16th?
Yeah.
Or are you slipping to where there's not much to talk about by then?
No, yeah, it should be good timing for, TabConf. We're planning to go. So yeah.
Well, I put in for a talk on it, and it hasn't been approved, but I'm starting to see other suggested programming things get approved. And I've got a dialogue with the organizer, and I'm trying to like get him to like commit to
Awesome.
approving the talk. But if there's nothing to talk about, then there's no point in pushing for it. But it sounds like there will be stuff to talk about.
Yeah, I think it'll be really good timing because we're planning to go live with subspaces. I mean, we should be done with testnet 4 testing before then, and so we should be ready to go live. So I think it should be good timing. So yeah, thanks for setting that up. And I did see, I think the organizer joined our Telegram group.
Yeah,
so.
he's been kind of like lurking a little bit, and then but I've run into him, like I saw him, we were at a little mini conference the other weekend in Miami, and I had some time with him, kind of brought it up again as something I wanted to work, or, make sure that we had some time out. And plus it's going to be a great audience, for you guys to present to.
Yeah.
Because the very people that, would be good sort of tool builders, early adopter types.
Yeah. Yeah, so, definitely. So yeah, thanks for submitting that. And yeah, hopefully we can get it approved and talk about it.
So when would mainnet launch for subspaces?
I mean, the plan is launch Subspacer next week, and then 2 to 3 weeks after that, have the changes done to support subspaces for Space D, and then we'll need like 4 weeks of testing on testnet 4 before we go live. So that should be the end of September, beginning of October. But
yeah, I think October is very good timing. So we should be ready by TabConf.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll keep pressing to get approved and get that on the schedule sometime. Yeah, as soon as I have any more information about that, I'll let you know.
Awesome. Thanks. Yeah, if there's anything we can do to help, let me know.
I mean, if it gets approved, I mean, we're getting into the weeds, but who should you present, or maybe Buffer present, or
yeah,
it depends, I guess, on kind of what treatment you want to give it.
I think Buffer would be best, but I mean, I'll be there too. I would be happy to be up there with him for support, but he'll know a lot more. I mean, I definitely can talk about like why it's needed and stuff like that, but I think Buffer would be much better.
I mean, I could help you guys prep if either of you wants to present. That's fine by me.
Well, I'm willing to present if, especially if for some reason neither of you were able to attend, I would for sure want to present. But obviously you're more key development and project lead. So and who knows? I mean, we can talk offline. This isn't critical, but I just wanted to get a sense of where your head was at, and because it could, I could add some more detail to the ask in terms of what we're looking for.
We're all hoping to. I mean, definitely I and Buffer and also like Alex and Alexi would like to go too. So hopefully we'll all be there. And
that'd be great.
And the timing's good for the launch, so I think it should be.
Awesome. And so last year I put in for a decentralized ID talk, and the time slots for talks got crowded, and I was asked to turn it into a workshop kind of at the last minute because they needed more workshops and less talks. And I thought, well, it was a workshop, but it was really just a long presentation, because the problem is that to do it really, you need to like make transactions and get them on the block and get confirmations, and all that takes time. It's like you just can't do that on mainnet in 30 minutes. like there's just too many things that have to happen, and you have to kind of wait, especially if you want to go through the whole process. Like, here, download the wallet, fund the wallet, wait for the funds to settle, then craft the transaction, then, all that stuff takes way too much time. So what was supposed to be a workshop turned into be like a presentation with, here, if you want to do this on your own, you can do it later. So if for some reason they said, hey, could you make this into a workshop? Maybe you guys could think about what that might look like. Could you squeeze it into like an hour sort of hands-on something where people could get involved and have something that they could take away that represents, the space? Maybe it's like download the mobile wallet, get it set up, and, do this or that on testnet quickly in the context of the workshop, but then because the blocks come out quicker.
Yeah, I think
and then say like, okay, when you're ready, when you get home and you want to really explore this, now flip it to mainnet mode, and then, something like that. I'm not saying you have to figure it all out now, but imagine how, if asked to do a workshop, what could be put together given what you expect to have.
Yeah, I think a workshop could be fun as well. Yeah. Especially if like they could get like a hands-on, maybe like try to like write some basic thing to like use the spaces, like maybe some code and maybe a little bit interactive, or like just try the mobile app. Yeah, I think a workshop could be fun too.
All right. I just I kind of seed it now just to kind of get you thinking about it. The workshops tend to be longer time slots, but the expectation is that they're going to have something to take away from the experience of the workshop that's kind of their own, and maybe there's a space that we use to kind of, generate a bunch of subspaces for people in the workshop and, give them out or something like that. Who knows? So anyway, just kind of be thinking about that. My tendency first is to just keep it as a talk where the content is kind of described with, some amount of presentation and or demo support behind it. But like I said, I would rather be willing to like be flexible if asked in order to make sure that we get an opportunity to present versus like saying, oh, well, no, we were only planning to do a talk, and if we can't do a talk, then I guess we're not doing it, right? So yeah, I'll keep it very open and flexible then.
Cool, thanks.
Mm-hmm. So is there a Space D version release that's going to happen outside of what we were describing? There's nothing really that's changed substantively, right?
Yeah. So next week, so right now I'm very focused on subspaces, but yeah, sure. we do plan to have like a small, maybe V008 launch with like some basic changes. We also have like a new TX builder, but that needs more testing. So it will probably be on the next version. Once I'm done with like the bulk of the work on subspaces, then I could get to like focus on it. It just makes like the wallet a bit like more stable. And then we could also have a builder library that you could use with BDK to like build a spaces transaction. So if you have a Bitcoin wallet, you could use that to like integrate spaces into your wallet. So that would be nice too.
Right.
Yeah, but yeah, the focus right now is to like just get as much done of like subspaces as possible, and hopefully like we get to launch it like in late September or like very early October, so that before all the Bitcoin conferences and stuff.
Right. Very good. I guess the only question, is there anything changed with Fabric, or is it pretty much what it is right now?
Fabric will change a bit more after Subspaces launch because it needs to support subspaces, obviously.
Mhm.
Yeah, and then I mean, I'm sure it will change and improve a lot over time as we like get to use it and see what it lacks and like understand like the use case scenarios a bit more. So it will
Mhm.
evolve like over time.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. I see like creating, and I know the types of records that kind of mimic the DNS record types like TXT and A records. I'm not sure if CNAME is meaningful in the Fabric context or not, but it seems to me that having some sort of you could do more if you say have text records that have some encoding that tells you what they are, what type of record they are, like and that way you could you may have to do some sort of like recursive sort of resolution where first you do a text record retrieval from like a base name, and then it's like, oh well, it needs to be a web page. Well, so I need a name that redirects it to an A record or something like that. So
Yeah, I'm not sure like the CNAME would be because like you mean like a CNAME to like an ICANN domain or like another space?
well, I mean, the point is to not make an actual DNS query, right? If possible. So, for instance, if you wanted to mimic, like as an example, say you wanted to mimic, I can't remember what NIPIT is, but I guess it's NIP05, right? Not only does it validate that the public key maps to the NIP05 like email style name, but it also provides a list of relays that are likely to be where that user's messages can be found, right? So having a set of records in the zone that Fabric is controlling could effectively encapsulate that same set of relays. So just by you get somebody's Nostr pub key, you look up their NIP 55, whatever it is, the spaces version of NIP 5, and then it says, oh, go look at the DHT network, do a lookup on this, and then you will see, a set of records which are like specialized text records that represent the list of relays that user is likely to be found on. And then you can decide from a client perspective, do I want to add these relays to my set of relays so that I have good confidence that I'll get that user's messages? That would be like one example of the extra kinds of records that would be nice to have in that zone file, but that would need to be some sort of like probably like a preamble bytes in the record that you would first parse and then recognize a certain set of types of records or something like that. And then likewise, if like those relays are they themselves space names, right? Because you don't want to use DNS names because that's the whole point, then you would have to do lookups on those names, right? And get those A records for those servers, those relay servers, stuff like that is kind of where my thoughts are going.
Yeah, like I think I mean that's a good point. I think like relay discovery is like a super important thing that Fabric should like provide.
Right.
Because like it's hard to discover, like if you start with an npub, it's hard to find which relays like publish events for that npub, and Fabric could help with that. But I mean there are lots of awesome things that we could do, and I'm sure we will explore this a lot more in depth like once subspaces are out, and then we could focus on this deeply and get it right.
Yeah, I agree. Just for food for thought.
Okay, does anybody else have questions or comments?
Yo, hey, all right, yeah, I got some questions about subspaces. So is there any Bitcoin transaction that's needed to create subspaces?
So if you want to, like, if you're an operator, let's say you own at Bitcoin and you want to create 1,000 subspace or like 1,000,000 subspace. So you just create one Bitcoin transaction and you only need to post like 32 bytes of on-chain data to create those subspaces. So yes, one transaction per each like commitment. But like one transaction creates like multiple subspaces. So like a batch. So, and it's the same size regardless of like how many you add.
Okay, so if you were to create a subspace, ideally you would just batch all the possibilities that you could ever want, and you would do it right away rather than having to come back and do them one by one.
Technically, yes. But also because you want to like, so let's say you want to create Curious at Bitcoin, and Curious at Bitcoin gives you his public key to map to that Curious at Bitcoin name. So you need their public keys to create the batch. So like if you are the owner of at Bitcoin, what you essentially do is like you receive multiple like buy orders and you combine as much as you could and create a transaction. So, and the more volume you have, the more efficient it will be. So like it's a trade-off between how fast you want to like issue the certificate and give it to the like subspace owner and how many you want to create in a single batch. And of course, the more popular at Bitcoin gets, the cheaper all of this becomes because like you could create large batches and it's just the same size, like just 32 bytes.
Right. So I was thinking that let's say you had a website like Friendster.com, and your idea was everyone that signed up for Friendster.com got a username with the username they chose at Friendster. Would you, as the operator for Friendster, would you just create every possible scenario, every possible username in one batch transaction? I mean, I don't even know how you would even know every possible combination.
Yeah, no, you don't do that. You could, like, it depends on how many users register, like every hour or every day. But you could like wait so you could give them like a temporary certificate initially, so they could use their name as soon as they register, but it won't be trustless until it's committed on chain. So like you could do it every day, let's say, and every day you have like 1,000 users or like 1,000,000 users, depends on like how popular your website is and how long you want to wait to give them like their true ownership.
Okay, that
So,
makes
like,
sense. That makes sense.
Yeah, so yeah, you essentially like just like you could, I mean, I guess it depends a lot on how the operator wants to do it. Yeah, they could do it every week, they could do it every month, they could do it every 5 minutes. It doesn't matter. But yeah, as the user like curious at Bitcoin, you only like prove your ownership once you get your certificate and the batch is committed on chain. And before that, you don't necessarily believe the owner of Friendster until they give you like the true certificate.
Right, right. So that leads me into this next question. So your private keys to your Bitcoin Spaces wallet, that restores all your top level spaces. And then there's going to be a certificate or multiple certificates that restore subspaces. Is that correct?
Yes. So when you buy like a subspace, you keep the private key to yourself. but also you store like the certificate. So you could like put it somewhere, and this is like your proof of ownership. And like and like when you buy like subspaces, you just store their certificate, keep them with your private key, just like for safekeeping, to prove your ownership. I mean, you could get the certificate later from the operator, but you don't have to like rely on them or like trust them. So if you keep it for yourself, you don't need to rely on them anymore.
So let's go back to that example with the operator doing a daily batch, creating subspaces for the users. That's going to be an expense for the operator. So how would the operator make money then if they were going that route?
Yeah, well, it's very cheap because like you only need 32 bytes and just wrapped in one Bitcoin transaction. So like at the current pricing, it's so let's say it will cost like $5 per patch, regardless of like how many you issue. So if you're the owner of @Friendster and you want to like give them out for free, you do have some costs. Like you need to prove that those subspaces were correct off chain, which is like if you generate like a ZK proof that is like computationally expensive. So yeah, you need to like factor in those costs. So if you want to give them out for free, it really has to make sense for you. Otherwise, you would need to like sell them.
Right. Yeah, and the fees are low now. Surprisingly, they've been low for a while. But I would imagine that the Bitcoin fees, they're not going to stay this low. What are your thoughts on that? Do you think higher fees are inevitable on Bitcoin? And if so, do you think that's a problem for Spaces protocol?
Yeah, so maybe in like 10 years, it will be like, who knows really, but it could be like $100 to do a very basic transaction on Bitcoin, especially if like lots of layer 2s use it. But yeah, I mean, that's the whole point of Spaces, is that like you could create a lot of subspaces, keep them off chain, and just have like a cheap commitment on chain. So even if it takes like $100 per transaction, it shouldn't really matter to the subspace holder. The operator will have a little bit more cost, but because they're selling them, like let's say like $5 a subspace or whatever the price is, or $20, it should be very cost effective, even if transaction fees are super expensive.
Yeah, that's definitely a nice design for Spaces protocol. That's the scalable part where a lot of the subspaces can be done off-chain. All right, now I don't want to stop the subspace development. I know that's the main focus. I want to keep you guys on schedule. And I'm not sure if Andrew asked about this, but where are we with the Acron wallet for Windows? Is that going to come out with the 0.008?
Yes, so I'm pretty sure we will have it next week.
Okay. Yeah, because I'm just thinking of ways to increase adoption. I know subspaces are going to be huge. The Nostr angle is huge, like Andrew was saying. Some sort of use case, and Windows being the most popular operating system. I have an idea. I was just going to make some videos and just start bidding, just showing people how to do it, stuff like that. So I think it would be really useful if we can get that Windows wallet out.
That's awesome. Thanks.
Yep. All right. Thank you, guys. That's it for me.
Thanks. Yeah. Thanks for your help. Yeah, I mean, just some thoughts when you guys were discussing that. Like, yeah, two of the most important things with designing this was like self-sovereignty, making sure that it's you own your name, like that's super important. And then also, yeah, scaling. Making sure that it could scale to billions, billions of names. So yeah, those were two really important things. And just to note, like with your subspace is not completely self-sovereign until the commitment is made on chain. And it was brought up in the Telegram, like well, I'll pay, but then I have to wait until the commitment, until I have the self-sovereign identity. But there are ways you could make it so that, like, for example, you could put the subspace on chain, and then it would be a very similar transaction to what's done on the marketplace now. Like, without any third party, you could just buy the subspace with Bitcoin right on chain if you wanted to make sure that you had your self-sovereign identity immediately when you paid. So just a note for that. But yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they could just buy one off the marketplace, and without having to wait for the operator, and it would be like completely trustless.
Yeah.
And that's a subspace, you're saying? You could buy a subspace off the marketplace.
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. We plan to have the marketplace also do subspaces too.
That's amazing. I mean, once that happens, it's going to be flooded with subspaces. I mean, that's the scalable part. Really great, thoughtful design to this protocol where billions of subspaces, and that marketplace is going to go crazy once we start getting adoption. So having a top level space is going to be super rare.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think another attribute of this that, I mean, we talk about a bit here, but is becoming more and more sort of part of the public discourse is that this enables you to have resources that are available, well, for one, the self-sovereign right as property. So your name is property is an idea that most people probably don't really grasp yet. But you think about what the next thing is, like, and probably the easiest like thing to conceptualize for the average person is like, well, I want a homepage, right, for lack of a better word, or a profile page, just a web page that somebody could type my name in the URL bar and get the page about me, you know, whatever you want to put on it, some contact information or just like, you know, something. Well, that web page has to live somewhere, right? And if you say, well, I'll host it on GoDaddy, or I'll put it on Google Pages, or I'll put it on GitHub, whatever. Yeah, but do you control that resource, right? It's like, what if the government doesn't like your page and they want to turn it off? What would they have to do? Well, they would have to go to, you know, Google Pages or something like that and like have them turn it off. That wouldn't be that hard to do. So the next thing is like, well, the storage of that page needs to be beyond the reach of an authority, right? And how do you do that? Well, there's this thing called IPFS, which is pretty cool, but is pretty complex too, and it's not very easy to deal with. But now we're seeing things emergent like Blossom servers, which are following more the Nostr sort of, you know, it may not be everywhere, but it's on these dozen servers. And unless an authority wants to like take out a dozen servers that are in a dozen different jurisdictions, which they may or may not have the ability to do, it's going to make it a lot harder. And it's approaching sovereign like storage that can't be taken away from you. So at some point, we probably will have a mechanism where the sovereignty, persists, of that storage persists, and there's a way to then get to it through spaces. That's easy. And now you have, something that can live beyond you, right? It's like if you die and pass away, there's like an homage to you that's available that can't be taken away. The property can't be taken away. The storage can't be taken away. So I think it's a powerful concept to think about, right? Owning something that irregardless of what someone else might like or dislike about it, is impossible to like take away. And it's really amplifying the sovereignty side of things and the rights and property rights side of things. So,
Yeah, 100%. So I did see about that Impervious browser, the Beacon browser, I think it was. How hard would it be to just fork that or just make that Spaces compatible?
So yeah, I mean, we could have a browser for Spaces, but maybe like we could like revisit this later once we have like Subspaces up, and maybe like we get integrations from like one of the Nostr clients, and then we probably like the direction will be more clear about the next steps. I mean, we could absolutely like make another browser if we need to, but I guess we will see how it will turn out.
yeah. And maybe for now, it's like if there's like a fork of a common browser like Primal, let's just say, or Damus or something, and then you just tell people like, look, just compile this particular branch. It's got Spaces support built in, and it would at least give the curious a no pun intended, the curious an avenue for like playing with something where it's built in with minimal amount of effort on their side.
Yeah, we could also like contribute to like a PR to Brave.
Right.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, if we get like more adoption, all of this will become a lot easier because Brave will have like more pressure to like support it. And yeah, so we'll see how it goes in the next couple of months.
Cool. Well, we're waiting anxiously.
Yeah. So once we launch Subspaces, then we, the goal is to get Subspace, like usernames, into the hands of everybody in Bitcoin, at first, and then everybody else. So yeah, that's the plan. But does anybody else have any questions before we wrap up?
While we wait for anyone else to raise their hand, I'll just ask you, Mike, any more interviews or podcasts you have scheduled or plan on joining?
I have, there was one that was recorded, but I don't think it's published yet. And then another one is coming up. Yeah. So hopefully that'll help out.
I watched that one with that Vlad guy. I think that was his name. He had the long hair.
Yeah.
That was a good one. And that was older. I actually didn't find that through search, but somebody in the Telegram said something about it. I watched it. And that was a really good one. So he seemed interested in it. I don't know if you talked to him, but maybe if you're friends with him or something, try to get back on his. That was very insightful there. He was asking a lot about it.
Yeah, he's I love that podcast. Yeah, so, and I think I know he went to TabConf last year, so he might actually be there again this year. I should check in with him. But yeah, he's a cool guy. Yeah, I should talk to him again. I'll check in with him to see if he's going to TabConf too. All right. So yeah, I guess that's it for the call. If you want more info on Spaces Protocol, go to spacesprotocol.org, and from there you can find other resources like our marketplace or the Explorer or GitHub, and our Telegram group, which has the most up-to-date information there. So, all right, I'll talk to everybody later. See you guys.
See you guys. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.